Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Reimagine 2020. I'm Roshan Mirajkar, the University Program Assistant Director, and I'm here with a very interesting person today who is a leader in the content creator in the blockchain and crypto space. She also focuses on creating educational content and helping new people understand crypto. Here with Lea Thompson. You might also know her as Girl Gone Crypto on Twitter, and maybe even seen her briefly in the Super Bowl. So she runs a social media channel in the blockchain space. And Lea, why don't we get started with telling everyone how you sort of got into the space?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me as part of this event. 72 hours is an impressive feat. So just really honored to be here and be part of this. Yeah, how I got into the space, it's kind of funny. I first heard about Bitcoin back in like maybe 2012, 13, somewhere in there, because I had some friends that were miners. And they kept telling me to buy Bitcoin, but sadly, I didn't listen to them until 2017. And so I got into the space kind of early, mid 2017. So before the, big run up happened. And the way that I really kind of got hooked and really started getting involved was it's kind of a weird story that involves a ukulele. And so I joined a blogging platform called Steam or Steam It. I don't know if you have heard of them or familiar with them. But it was basically where you could earn crypto for posting content. And so I started doing that. And I posted a ukulele cover. I was singing, I think, I forget, some song, and it made like $100 in crypto in Steam. And I was like, what? What just happened? you know? And so that really is what kind of led me down the rabbit hole, because I had never made content before, but I was like, I can do this. This is interesting. And so I started posting more, kept earning crypto, and that just kind of led to me asking all of these questions like, why is this even worth anything? And how is it created? And now that I have some, what can I do with it? And what is this thing called an exchange? And what are these other coins? And, all of that. And so I really got involved, like I said, pretty strongly in that community. But that kind of, led me to learn more about the greater crypto community, more about Bitcoin itself. And so I really only started my channel, Girl Gone Crypto, about 9 months ago. But the reason that I did is so I had started getting requests to speak at all these different crypto conferences. And I was like, no, I don't do crypto content. I just do like ukulele and like food blog stuff on this. Like, I was like, but because it's a crypto based platform, all these crypto people were following me on there, and so I kept going to these crypto conferences. So it's kind of weird, but I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like the universe is like, this is a clear indicator that maybe it's time for me to start a crypto channel. So I did.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you sort of got into the space, just playing ukulele or something like that, something completely unrelated. So yeah, I find that really interesting that sort of anyone with the interest in the space can sort of jump in and get their feet wet. And a lot of why I think that's the case is because we're in such a new industry that's not really mature. And if you look at how a lot of these emerging technologies sort of get popular, it's always with like a smaller group first, like with your friends or something like that. And, on places like crypto Twitter, such a strong community that's so important in the blockchain and the crypto space. So what do you sort of see your role in the blockchain or crypto community, so to speak? Because I know you place a lot of focus on, creating content for beginners and also breaking down a lot of the complex content so that it's not only engaging, but it's actually educational as well. I thought that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I've got a few different kind of avenues that I take that. So on my like YouTube channel where I have like the full videos, I have a mix of kind of tutorial walkthrough educational kind of videos, which are basically, I'm making the kind of things that I wish I had when I was first learning, right? And so really breaking things down, and there's great educational content out there, but I think a lot of it is, it's maybe this video that's like an hour long and it's this live stream. Like, I'm like, no, I would want something that's like 5 minutes. Here's what you do, here's how this works, share it on the screen. Like, that's what I would want. And so I started my channel making stuff more like that. And I still do make those types of videos, but I also started interviewing people. And that was a really, really fun step for a few reasons. Because, I mentioned I got into crypto kind of through the ukulele and I didn't know a whole lot. And so I was, my base of learning was kind of growing gradually as I was, over that first 2 years or whatever. And then it's been amazing how much I've learned the last, like 7, 8 months that I've been interviewing people, because like I'm just getting to talk to all these really smart people all the time about all these different aspects of blockchain technology that I would have had to go, read some big blog post or watch all these videos to really understand. And so I'm able to ask those questions to the experts, which is just such a cool experience. And also, kind of like what you were talking about with like making it approachable for new people, even though my interviews, they do get kind of technical, I always bring it back up to a high level, and I try to put that beginner mindset and hat back on. Like, what questions would I have if I, like 2 years ago, right? And try to ask that of my guest, and try to make it something that'll be, I think I say on my profile, like for nerds and normies alike. So,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully people that are, educated in blockchain technology will find it helpful and interesting. And then also hopefully people that are new will not be too intimidated by it, right? So, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I thought you brought up some interesting points. Like, I think a lot of the social media platforms that are turning into blockchain. I think even today, like Reddit announced, they're integrating tokens and different things like that. So, I just think you're in a interesting time period where you sort of have this role to educate a lot of the new people. And no, I was just going to ask you. So yeah, I know you interview frequently a lot of the founders and of projects that are focused specifically sometimes on mass adoption, so to speak, right? Like the projects that even the normies, so to speak, can even benefit from, which is true. Like, I love the crypto community, and it's a great place to be and learn. But I would like to imagine a world where everyone can benefit from this technology, and I don't think that's happened yet. So, what would you say is any sort of future trends or trends you see just talking to these founders, or even the types of projects like you've seen recently? Have things changed since you started your Girl Gone Crypto handle?
That's a great question, and honestly, you really nailed it when you said something about usability. And I think that that's something I really focus on. Is, I get a lot of requests where people want to come on my channel, and if they're just like, hey, here's the latest token where you can earn X amount staking, and I'm like, yeah, but what problem are you solving? Like, what are you really doing? Like, there's so many tokens out there that offer similar things. Like, why would, and so that's something I really try to kind of put that lens on before I have someone on my show is, what's the use case here? How is this solving a problem, a real world problem? How is this doing something different? And so I think that that's a huge shift and trend in the industry from the last, big boom that we had, where it was all about the ICOs and the 100X, and, people were more interested in like it's almost like gambling. You're like, oh, I'll get this cheap coin and we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's not, but it kind of has that vibe to it, where I think now people are a little bit more wary of that, and they're a little more like, okay, what's the use case? And I think as an industry, that might mean that fewer coins survive, but stronger coins that actually provide more value will survive. And I think that's actually a really positive thing.
Yeah. I think that too. Like, we kind of went through phase one, and now it's sort of like phase two. So, how do you think? Like, what do you think sort of the barriers are right now that you sort of work on trying to improve this? Because here at MouseBelt University, a lot of the things we try to do is create our own educational content where students can learn and different things like that, and try to work with the already established companies in the space to really help the students, because a lot of them are, like yourself, putting out content and different things like that. So what would be your word of advice, so to speak, for either new people entering the space or people out there that sort of want to maybe do more of what you're doing, right? Maybe create content or sort of take on more of that role, because a lot of things haven't really been established, so to speak, like frameworks and different things like that.
No, that's great. Great question. So I'll kind of answer it in two parts. So the first one being maybe advice for people that are coming into the space, and the second one maybe being advice for people that want to make crypto related content. So for people that are just kind of new coming into the space, one of the biggest barriers to entry I see is the whole process of them learning how to use an exchange and buying it, and what is this thing about transferring to a secure wallet. And so there's certain wallets that I think are doing a really great job of, that are maybe like non-custodial, but they have an easy on-ramp. So it's not as intense as maybe buying a hardware wallet and going through all the hoops. They kind of have taken some of that out for you. Shapeshift is a great, self-custody wallet that has a good experience. Edge, I'm now forgetting if I don't think they're custodial, but they have,
Yeah.
I now I have to look it up. Sorry. sorry, Edge. But they've got, I use them quite a bit. They've got a great user entry point. And one of the things that's, I think, most intimidating for people is this whole private key thing, like what happens if you lose your keys? And that, I think, is what kind of scares a lot of people. And so it's been interesting to see how different wallets are addressing that and trying to help people. And, I bring up Edge because I'm not entirely sure how their technology works, but it's some sort of like one-way encryption where they can help you recover your keys if you lose it, but they never have access to it. And so I think we're seeing some evolutions in the technology that will make the on-ramp easier for people to get in. So yeah, just find a really good wallet, I would say, is kind of maybe the first step for people that are new. And then to shift gears and talk about content creators, I could talk for hours about that. That's that's a fun one. But I think that really this community, like, it just really is a community. And so if you keep that in mind, not everyone has to do interviews. I've found it to be incredibly helpful in terms of meeting people in the space, which then, they might think of you when they've got something else going on. They're like, hey, come join this, live stream for Bitcoin halving day, or like, because you've got that personal connection more than just seeing them on Twitter. But also, a lot of those communities will then share out that interview. So, if I'm interviewing someone from a particular project, let's say I was interviewing, Shapeshift, because we were just talking about them, like, the Shapeshift account would probably retweet it, and then their community would see it and be excited about it. And so from a growth perspective, I think that collaborating in that sense can be really powerful. But also collaborating with other creators, I have found, is absolutely key. Not just from, I would say, like a growth standpoint, but just like even from making friends. Like, you want to be friends with the other creators in the space. Like, I think that's great because, for one, it gets kind of lonely. Just stare at the camera and talk to yourself like, all
Yeah.
day. But also you can help each other out. I have some great friends in the space that I've been able to ask questions of, like, what do you do? Have you dealt with this before? What do you think about this? Can you give me some feedback on that? And, having people that have been there and done that can talk with you through some of that is just amazing. And, kind of like what I said with the opportunities where, people might think of you, creators are constantly making things. And so they might be like, hey, I need someone else on this panel, or I need this or that. And like, that's why I love doing guest interviews, like, just the more you can connect with people and meet people, I just think it cannot be understated how important that is.
Yeah, I find it really interesting how you were able to sort of build your entire brand in the last 9 months, or is that when you just started your Twitter?
Yeah, so I started my Twitter, I think, about 9 months ago, my YouTube channel about 8. So
Oh wow! So I actually thought you were in, yeah, I thought you were on Twitter for a lot more. So you've been able to accomplish a lot in just like under a year. So how would you say, you know, you sort of did that? Like maybe walk us through some hurdles or cool aspects of your journey, sort of, because yeah, you are you kind of have a unique twist on crypto Twitter. You know, everyone sort of knows you as yeah, collaborating with other content creators, but like what I was saying before too, kind of not just creating memes or different things like that, although those help certainly, they'll certainly help break things down, and you do a little bit of that. But you know, sort of you um, you've sort of grown into this sort of natural community, I would say, where
Mm.
most of the people know you. So how did you sort of do that? And also maybe a forward question, where do you sort of see yourself in the next 1 to 2 years, you know, as crypto grows?
Okay, let me see if I can keep track of all the things. So, so yeah, to start off and just kind of talking about, you know, you asked like, how have I grown at the rate that I have, you know, in less than a year? I think that there's a lot of factors that play into that. You know, one of them is the collaborations that I just talked about and meeting people. But outside of that, I think that, I mean, you've got to bring your own personality to it. If you're just kind of regurgitating the same memes that other people, I mean, again, like you said, nothing wrong with memes, they're great, you know, but you got to bring your own flavor and be willing to take some risks and get out of the box and think creatively. And so, one thing that I'm really trying to prioritize in my life right now is having more like just time in the morning before I get just crazy in my day, where I just kind of brainstorm and be like, okay, what could be some cool stuff to do? Because it's easy to get stuck in the rut of like, you know, okay, I got a podcast to do, I got this, I got that. But those moments when you just kind of let your brain wander and come up with creative ideas, those end up being the things that, you know, are the most interesting usually and stand out the most. I would say I get a lot of inspiration outside of the world of crypto. So I
Mm.
listen to a lot of podcasts, or I read audiobooks, or, you know, read audiobooks, listen to audiobooks, you know, so I'm consuming and learning from others, like whether it's about social media or maybe it's just about life and balance, or maybe, you know, I'm reading a book right now called The 5 a.m. Club, and it's about like getting up early and like, you know, but I think that getting like what I'm trying to say is I think that to be a creator, it's important to also be a student and to be
Mm.
like to be learning. And whenever I feel like I'm kind of like dry on content ideas, it's generally because I have not been spending time learning myself, or listening to those podcasts, or reading those books, or doing things. So so yeah, I definitely think that bringing, you know, being willing to take risks, creative ideas, looking for inspiration, you know, constantly learning, those are all things that can really help. And if I can give one more, I would just say that, you know, not everyone likes to put their face out there, right? Like not everyone wants to, but I think that really helps with people actually connecting with you. So, you know, you've got photos of yourself, you're doing videos where you're actually on camera. And again, I know like there's tons of people that, you know, have grown great channels and communities where they don't really show their face, but I definitely think it helps with people feeling connected to you. What was
Yeah.
your last question? Sorry, I
Oh
know
no.
you had another one at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah, no, that yeah, that was really interesting to sort of hear your journey, especially about what you said about constantly needing to be a student and learning and educate and you know, picking up educational content. I think that's a big theme in the blockchain and crypto industry, because there's always something changing, and no 2 months or no 2 years are really the same. You know, we have different phases and cycles. So, yeah, so to sort of close things out, uh, what would you say, you know, where do you see yourself in the next 1 to 2 years? And also, like, where do you see yourself sort of with the industry as well, right? I'm sure you're not, I'm sure you have plans to stick around in the industry and sort of help it grow. So if you want to kind of give some future thoughts on that, and yeah, any closing thoughts you have for our audience.
Yeah, sure. So for me, I'm a really big fan of, yes, having plans, but also being really open to opportunity and things that come up. And so, like, my kind of thought process right now is just that I'm really excited about continuing to create content and to get to interview people and get to kind of break down those barriers for new people coming into the space. But some of the stuff I'm honestly most excited about is some of that, creative, fun content that we were just talking about, those kind of like funny little like, skit videos or like photos and like cool quotes and like just some of the more creative stuff. Like to me, that's really like filling and I really enjoy that. And I see that lifestyle content is going to be important, I think, for future adoption so that when people are new to the space, they don't just see this whole wall of really technical words that they've never seen, but they see people that are maybe like them, that are like cracking jokes and doing things and having fun and making content that they already consume and they want to consume. And so that's an area that I really want to continue focusing on. Like obviously, again, I love the more technical interviews and videos and things, but that fun lifestyle content is, I think, actually really, really important. So I'm excited to continue with that. One thing that I really would like to start doing more of, and it might have to wait until the world opens back up, but I'd really like to start speaking at more conferences, but not just like crypto conferences. I
Mhm.
think it'd be really great to maybe speak at more like tech conferences or like women in business conferences or just different arenas where they maybe blockchain technology isn't really on the forefront of their mind, but is something that might be able to benefit them, or like especially in the world of tech, like learning about blockchain now will just help give them a competitive advantage. And so I think that kind of getting outside of the crypto echo chamber and bringing more awareness to how people could really be utilizing blockchain in their business, or thinking about Bitcoin as a way to potentially advance their lives. Like I think that that's a cool message, and that's something that I'd love to kind of help bring to kind of the industries that are close to ours but aren't quite within it.
Yeah, no, that's a great message, just sort of being inclusive and welcoming anyone to the space. Thank you so much for sharing your journey today and sort of, highlighting what you do in the industry and being very welcoming of, especially the new people trying to get into the industry and learn all about what we're about. So thank you so much for your time. Great having you on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for including me. It's great to chat with you.
Thanks.
You're tuned in to Reimagine 2020. Stay tuned to learn more about the state of the art in blockchain education and technological development all around the world. Reimagine 2020.